We'll be live in just a moment.
Thank you.
We're live in 3, 2.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ronald McFadden. I have the humble pleasure of serving as the chair of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, and I would like to call our June 12th meeting to order of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. If you have not done so already, please mute your phone or silence your phone if you're in the room. Anyone who does not mute their phone or silence their phone may be removed by the call moderator or removed from the room. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call, as we have the majority of us here, but I want to make sure that those who may be joining us virtually are also able to be recognized. When I go through the roll, just identify yourself first for the record. Vice Chair Roberts.
Yes. Oh, present.
Thank you.
If anyone is virtual, can you hear them?
Let's see. Commissioner Coy.
Commissioner Coy, present.
So we're unable to hear folks who are virtual.
Commissioner Coy, present.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Coy, you can hear us?
Yes.
Great. Commissioner Esposito.
Esposito, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Commissioner Muhammad.
Muhammad, present.
Good evening, sir. Commissioner Reed.
Present.
Commissioner Rooks.
Commissioner Rooks, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Sally.
Sally, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Slater Harrington, present.
I'm also present. That is 9 present with 1 absent. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
So move, Robert.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second, Slater Harrington.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. All in favor? Vice Chair Roberts.
Yes.
Commissioner Coy.
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Muhammad.
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks.
Yes.
Commissioner Sally.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. I'm going to ask everyone to now join the board in standing as we receive the JROTC, the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps from Forest Park High School, followed by performers from Hartford Heights Elementary School under the direction of Ms. Marcia Sellers.
Guard, attention! Carry colors. Forward, march! Color guard, halt! Left, face! Present, arms! Sir, Forest Park Senior High School, JROTC, requesting permission to post colors. Sir.
Permissions granted.
Thank you, sir. Order, arms. Colors reversed, march. Color guard, halt. Present, arms.
Oh, say, can you see by
Poe. Ready? Cut!
Thank you. Please be seated. With Harper Heights, that was some incredible, Miss Sellers, that was some incredible stagger breathing over there. I heard that. Because a lot of us, you were applauding, but you couldn't hear that they were sustaining that pitch for a very long time. So let's give another round of applause to the Harper Heights Elementary School under the direction of Miss Marcia Sellers. And we also want to recognize the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps from Forest Park High School. We have Cadet Lieutenant Colonel David Burris, Cadet Captain Jamira Johnson, Cadet Captain Naomi Pickett, Cadet Command Sergeant Major Samira Nesbitt, and Cadet Staff Sergeant Kanaya Trice. Let's give them another round of applause. Commissioner Sally will bring us this evening's moment of silence.
I'd like to take the time to recognize the passing of City Schools employees. These individuals were committed to supporting our students through their work. The Greater City Schools community will fondly remember these employees. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to the employees, families, and friends. It is with deep regret that we inform you of the passing of Karen Hemsley. Ms. Hemsley started her career with City Schools on January 16th, 1989, where she served the staff and students for 35 years and 5 months at Dickey Hill Elementary Middle School as a manager to cafeteria. Ms. Hemsley unfortunately departed on May 26, 2024, and will be missed by her family, friends, and City Schools. Second, it is with deep regret we inform you of the passing of LaTarsha Ford. Ms. Ford started her career with City Schools on September 12, 2023, where she served the staff and students for 9 months in the Special Transportation Department as a driver too. Ms. Ford unfortunately departed on May 31st, 2024, and will be missed by her family, friends, and City Schools. You take a moment to honor their passing. Thank you. Second, I'd like to transition to some of our more harder observances, which are the passing of students here in City Schools. On behalf of the board, we'd like to take time to recognize the passing of the following individuals who are part of our school communities. They will be remembered fondly by the Greater City Schools community. Tonight, we send our deepest condolences to their friends and family. From the William S. Baer School, number 301, our home and hospital program, Angel King. Angel touched the hearts of many with her wonderful soul and loving attitude. Her impact on those who knew her will always be remembered. Her journey was an inspiration to her relatives, caregivers, teachers, and therapists. She was a picture of trust and hope. During her lessons at home, she was a devoted, diligent, and focused learner. Angel's memories will continue to shine brightly. Second, from Augustus Fells Savage, school number 430, Denzel Johnson. Denzel was more than just a student. He was a magnetic young man whose presence brightened the halls of our schools each day. Denzel had a unique ability to uplift those around him with his infectious smile, his kind heart, and unwavering positivity. Whether he was cracking jokes with his friends or lending a helping hand to a classmate in need, Denzel made a lasting impression on everyone he encountered. He will be missed by all who were lucky enough to know him. We take a moment to observe the passing of our students. Thank you. Chair McFadden?
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Sally. Is there a motion to approve the prior open session summaries? Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Is there a second?
Second,
Second,
Thank
Thank
you, Commissioner Esposito. I'll take that. And it sounds like Commissioner Kenyatta Bay is with us as well, so good evening. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So moved, Reed.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Is there a second?
Second, Roberts.
Thank you, Vice Chair. All in favor? Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington?
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. So good evening, everyone, and welcome again to the June 12th Public Board Meeting. And thank you all for being here. Tonight is the last public board meeting for the school year. Can you all believe that? So there are teachers in the room. We're not excited about the end of the school year because everyone needs that time to balance themselves. And so as we wrap up another successful series of board meetings, I want to give a special shout out to everyone behind the scenes and front facing who work extremely hard to ensure that our meetings run smoothly. But before I do that, we wrapped up our final graduation ceremony last evening with Patterson High School. So let's give a shout out to all of our scholars, all of our graduates. And with that, there is an incredible team of people. It is an extremely heavy lift to facilitate our graduation process. And I see many staff members in the room who've supported that process. So can we give a shout out to all the city school staff that made sure that we could do graduation centrally or at other locations? They ran a really tight ship too. When I was there yesterday, it was the timer's on, we've got to move, we got to rock, we've got to roll, and done in a spirit of excellence that is appreciated. So thank you to the team. I see several folks that participated, at least that was at Cobbing yesterday with me. So thank you all very much. From the AV team, right, our audio-visual team who provide their creativity and their technical expertise while this space, especially while this space has been under renovation. Thank you all. To our board office team, to the CEO's office, who both organize our meetings, our agendas along with the board, and present crucial district information that our community members, shout out to our community members, all of our stakeholders who come and advocate, who lift their voices, lift your voices, as I'm sure many of you are going to do this evening. To all of the commissioners, to the CEO, all district staff who show up, who are ready, who are focused. We appreciate you. The entire board appreciates you for all of what you do, the exceptional work and your dedication. And so although the school year is ending, the board and district staff will continue hosting meetings to share information, to track progress, and to prepare for next school year. The board has extensive goals, and together, all stakeholders, we're in this fight together. We're in this work together for the sake of our young people, our children. The public is invited to all of our meetings this summer. And so to learn more about summer board meeting dates and how you all can join, please visit the City Schools website. Speaking of celebration, we want to focus on several of our exceptional city school students among the board and the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City. Last month, the district held a citywide election for the new student commissioner, who's with us tonight, Commissioner Dylan Rooks, and ASCBC, which is the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City, their officers. More than 3,800 students, grades 6 through 12, use the new ballot system to vote for the student body or the student officials who would help them advocate for their educational needs and their well-being. Can we give a shout out to our students? And so I would like to formally announce the new officers of the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City. If you are in the room, just please stand so that we can recognize you, wave your hand. If you are joining us virtually, please come on camera so that we can see and recognize you as well. But we are first going to begin with our new student commissioner, Commissioner Dylan Rooks. Dylan is moving into his junior year at the Baltimore City College, and so we are extremely excited. What did we just hear? Oh, okay, President. Absolutely, absolutely. So congratulations to you, and like we mentioned earlier, we're extremely happy and eager to work along with you and our students. We also have Brooke Bourne, who is the ASCBC president. Hello, Brooke. Congratulations. We have Christiana Diggs, who is the vice president. We have Laura Lopez Sochicale. Are you with us, Laura? Laura is our middle school executive, so let's give Laura a round of applause. We have Fatima Velasquez, the ASCBC treasurer. Are you with us, Fatima? Let's give her a round of applause. We have Leah Stearns, who is the new ASCBC secretary. Congratulations, Leah. So we are certainly excited about each of our student leaders who are going to be paving the way. And again, I just want to reiterate the election of 3,800 students when at a time there was only a select few, less than 10, that selected students to represent almost 80,000. And so we're really excited. We know that next year they're very intentional about their work. We know that there are going to be more students that participate in that process. And so we're just very excited about the work that each of you are going to do. And congratulations again. And so with that, we also are celebrating new beginnings for our former student commissioner, Jameer Lawson. Where's Jameer?
Right there.
Come on up, Jameer. Yeah, you sit in a different seat now. You sit in a different seat now. And even up until yesterday, right, he was still serving his peers. He was still serving city schools. He wanted to make sure that he was with me for Dunbar High School's graduation to support those students. So we're very excited about your future. We're very proud of all of what you've done, all of what you've accomplished, not just last year, but the previous years that you've also worked with ASCBC. We know you're going to do great. You've done extremely incredible work at the Baltimore School for the Arts, leading a lot with their Student Government Association, and if I'm correct, the Black Student Union, several different organizations. What you all may not know is that former Commissioner Lawson is a musician par excellence, right? He is a saxophonist, but he is also a composer. And I had the privilege of attending School for the Arts to hear the debut performed of his arrangement of Circle of Life from The Lion King, but that was performed with full orchestra, with singers, while he conducted the entire thing. And so if you are not a musician, right, you may not know how much work goes into being able to arrange and orchestrate for a myriad of instruments and voices, right, different voice types, while standing at the podium, conducting and flipping pages and making sure that everyone's, you know, where they're supposed to be and doing the right thing on stage to make sure that your music and arrangement comes to life. We're so proud of you. And that just takes a certain level of synthesis, you know, that is why we support fine arts and arts education in the way that we do, because all in that, oh, absolutely. All in that synthesis is language. It is mathematics. It is physics. It is, you know, understanding the history of the story of the circle of life and bringing in social constructs and all of these things to be able to present in the way that you did. We're so proud of you. And Jameer is going off to Morehouse College in the fall. We're very excited about that. And so Jameer served as student commissioner from November 23 to May 24. So he was the first student that was elected at large in the way that our students advocated for. During his time on the board, he was intentional about his impact to create change, constantly showing up for students inside and outside of the boardroom. Jameer has been assertive, yet very respectful, cautious, yet very courageous, and overall, just a pleasure to be around, and sometimes more prepared than some of us coming to meetings. And so we just appreciate, Jameer, all of what you've done. I personally enjoy getting to know you and witnessing the amount of love and support that your parents give to you. Let's give it up for his parents. Stand parents, stand parents, stand parents, stand parents, stand parents. Because it certainly takes a village to raise one, right? And so that's why we're all in this room, right? We're all in this room because we believe in our children and we believe in improving outcomes for them. And we're so excited to have your family because they've generally been in meetings with you, right? Like the late nights, you know, Dad has really been, you know, your personal driver, right? Making sure that you're everywhere on time. So it takes a village, and they're both city schools employees as well. So we're very excited to have you all as his parents. Jameer, you've been a strong force in the boardroom, never afraid to push boundaries and to ask difficult questions. Your unwavering dedication to your fellow students has shown throughout your work on the policy committee. We cannot thank you enough for your contributions and your key perspective. Let's all take a moment to watch some highlights of Jameer and his time on the board.
Hi, my name is Jameer Lawson. I am the 2023-24 Student Commissioner for the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. I currently attend Baltimore School for the Arts, and I was elected at large by the high school students of Baltimore City. If I were to describe myself in 3 words, I would say I am motivated, I am kind, and inquisitive. My passion comes from student leadership. I've been a student leader all my life, starting from elementary school, being the class representative for my classroom, and then all the way up into high school where I was student body president and now I'm the student commissioner. When I was actually in middle school, I heard of the role of student commissioner. I told myself one day, I'm going to run for that position to help make a change in Baltimore City. One major challenge I face on the board is getting the opinion from all of the students in Baltimore City. I serve as the only student member of the board, and I'm often asked all the questions on student outcomes and how can we better reach students, what do students want, and my major problem is getting everyone's opinion. Oftentimes, I find it hard to reach my middle and elementary school students that I also represent on the board. I make it my duty to go visit schools, specifically elementary and middle schools, to hear them out and make sure that their voice is heard on the board. During my time on the board, I have been very intentional about getting face-to-face interactions with students. One recent experience I had was the MCAT prep rally at Mary E. Rodman. During this visit, I got to tour the school with 2 4th, 5th grade students where they got to show me why they are so happy and proud to be students in Baltimore City. After my tour, I got the chance to participate in their pep rally, give a motivational speech and words of encouragement to the students, and to really sit in the school atmosphere. Some words of encouragement I'll have for anyone applying to the board would be, this is a lifelong commitment. The policies that you'll pass will affect students for possibly generations. I feel that my voice as the student commissioner has not only improved the position, but the work that we do every day.
So, board colleagues, I'm going to open the floor for, look at Commissioner Slater Harrington. I'm going to open the floor up to board colleagues to have some congratulatory remarks for our esteemed former colleague.
I know, it's shocking. So what many of you don't know is that Commissioner Lawson had me from hello. And I met him outside of his role as commissioner before he actually took the position. I attended a panel in San Diego for the Council of Great City Schools. And there were these impressive students on this panel. And there was one voice that just kept ringing out. And I was like, who is that? And he's then, as a part of one of his soliloquies, he talked about being a Baltimore City public school student. And I thought, wait a minute, that's one of our own. Immediately, I started texting everyone, hey, one of our babies is here. And he has had my heart since that moment. Just going up to him afterwards and having him be as composed and as just wonderful from the very start. And then to have his parents like, yep, hey, we're here. That's me. That's our guy. It just has been a great experience. It's been short, but great every moment. I was his seat buddy. And so we would try to sit together at meetings. And oftentimes the questions that he would ask or comments that he would make, even some that did not get to the mic, were so thoughtful and meaningful and showed a depth of understanding of what we contend with. But most of all, I appreciate that he carried with him, as he said in that video, student voice. That for Jameer, it was front and center. It wasn't just, I get to be here, I get to be out front, I get to possess this point of leadership and power. It was, how do I make sure that I balance even my own personal opinions with those of my constituents? And that is the call on leadership, not only our own interests, but the interest of everyone. And so to have that presence of mind as a young person and as a young leader speaks volumes. I cannot wait to, one, witness you as you flourish in adulthood and keep shining. But I'm so even more excited by the young people you will touch when you become an educator and a leader. And I think that we're blessed for it. And I don't know why I'm so emotional, but I just care so much. My seatmate is leaving, but I got a new one. I got a new one, and I think Jameer left me in good hands. So thank you for all you have done and for inspiring us as board members and commissioners. I appreciate you, and I'm excited for you. And he has an Amazon list for everyone.
That's right.
Who would like to celebrate him. Say it with money. He accepts green. Ain't that right? That's right. So anyways.
Thank you, Commissioner Sada Harrington. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Commissioner, there's one word you used that stuck with me, reverberated, and that is intentionality. You have operated here with the most directed, most intensive sort of move, and it's echoed around you echoed by those who surround you. I've seen people get stronger. I've seen people become more purposeful, and that is leadership. You inspire, and you're going to continue to lead, whether you're leading an orchestra or whether you're going to lead the young people that you will be charged with bringing forward. You are a leader. You will always be a leader. It's a gift that is given to you. And keep passing it on, bro. You cool. Peace.
Commissioner, I just want to leave you real short, few words. One being in Ubuntu. I am because you are. Your example for me and for us is a reminder of why we do what we do. And often in the work that we do, it is important for us to leave the place of the data that we're reviewing and actually have an in-person representation of the motivation of why we are every day. And why you were on the board, while you were on the board, you were a constant reminder of the work that we do and why it's important. The outcomes are important because they produce you, and you are a representation of all of us. So thank you for being who you are, because you remind us of the best in all of Baltimore City Schools. Ubuntu.
Commissioner Sally.
So I had the pleasure of serving with Jameer on the policy committee this past year. And what I'm so thankful for is the perspectives, the preparation, the honest brokering, the helping us to think deeper about what we do, why we do, how we do it, and how students can best benefit from everything we do here at City Schools on all levels. And so what I took away from that is thinking about just kind of multiple perspectives and a number of different ways in which how to get those voices that are underrepresented in our system as part of our work. And so that is something that you've left as a lasting impression on me. And so I am 100% thankful for just that impression and how that's fueling my work going forward. So thanks, Jameer, so much.
Dr. Santelises.
So I will just quickly say that I remember one of the first policy questions you really had to grapple with, and the balance you showed, your mental acumen and like all firing on all rockets. And I will tell you, you left many members of the team, senior team, saying, "Oh my God, who is he? Where did he come from?" Because just your ability to kind of break down complex issues and to get it down to the point of students is actually a skill that many people 2 or 3 times your age can't do. I am thrilled and proud that you're attending my dad's alma mater at Morehouse. You are a houseman for all the good stuff that is a houseman. But just really thrilled that you are a model for our young people. And thank you for really stepping out and embracing everything that it means to be a commissioner. I think you visited more schools in more different parts of the city than so many people before you, and just know that we have been impressed and wished that we could clone you. And clearly we are on the way to that. So we are very excited about that, but we wish you the best.
bittersweet, Jameer. It's bittersweet, but we're so proud of you. So make sure that your family was able to join you now. Going to have them, if you all would like to, just have any words, any remarks before we turn it over to Jameer for his final public in this space. For we'll know he'll be back because we got a job for you. Okay.
Yes, I'll go first. There we are. So first, I would like to thank you all because Jameer speaks so highly of you and thoroughly enjoyed his time on the board, although it was a very long year for us all. More dead than me, but for us all. But I feel like Jameer being a student commissioner was just in the natural order of things for him. He has always been a leader. He's always been someone to advocate for others. He, when he told me he wanted to be on the board, to be really honest, I was like, are you sure this is something you can do? And he was like, yes. Like, he was watching board meetings all of last year. And I'm like, what are you listening to? Like, he's listening to these meetings. And I'm hearing voices like, this is Dr. Santalisa talking. And he already had a really jam-packed schedule with school and performances and Peabody and everything else. And so I was like, really, can we do this? And he said, I know I can. And he really made it happen. This school year has been long, but he stood up reviewing material. I was like, what are you working on? I can't tell you. I'm like, okay. I was like, okay. He was very serious about his role. But Jameer knows how proud we are of him. We tell him all the time, but I'll say it again publicly, that I'm very proud of you and don't want to cry. I've been crying a lot for the last week. But very proud of you and everything you've accomplished. I know you're going to continue to do great things because you always have. And you just make us so proud.
Mom, Jameer and I made a bet upstairs that you would be the first to cry. Kalila beat you to it, so you still won.
And we tried to brace, Mom, for when we traveled to receive the Magna Award for city schools. And that was his first time, correct? Traveling without you all.
Yeah.
And so we were like, Mom, actually, he's going to be all right because he's probably going to be taking care of us while we're away.
And he did.
And so he's ready. He's absolutely ready. And you all have done a remarkable job with Jameer. So with that, Dad, did you have remarks? They keep pushing me. I thought so. I thought we were communicating. Whereas Jameer Lawson served as student commissioner on the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners through school year 23-24, and whereas Jameer Lawson served on the Policy Committee and the Safety and Wholeness Committee during his tenure as student commissioner, and whereas Jameer Lawson has demonstrated extensive leadership ability as student body president of Baltimore School for the Arts, while also acting as an effective advocate for student voice and meaningful participation in school and district decisions. And whereas Jameer Lawson has performed outstanding service to the students, staff, and families of Baltimore City Public Schools and the City of Baltimore, now therefore the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners does hereby proclaim our thanks and best wishes to Jameer Lawson in grateful recognition of his dedicated service to public education in Baltimore City. Congratulations, Jameer. A certificate of recognition on behalf of the citizens of Baltimore. I am pleased to present this certificate to Jameer Lawson in recognition of your dedicated service as student commissioner of the Baltimore City Public Schools Board of School Commissioners. On behalf of the people of Baltimore, I offer my sincere thanks for your service and wish you the best in your future endeavors. Congratulations. Marked June 11th, 2024 by Mayor Brandon M. Scott. These are for you. Get them. On behalf of the board, this is also for you. Absolutely. From the National School Board Association, this is for you. Oh, we're gonna get more. And as we ensure that you're ready for college, we are gifting you because we know that this is a labor of love and none of us are compensated. This is a laptop for you to take with you to college. So look at him, he's decorated tonight. So we're going to ask all board colleagues to come on up so that we can get our final photo that we can etch in the history of city schools.
So I had some words, but I decided just to go off the top of my head. First, I'd like to thank the students of Baltimore City for trusting me with this role. I think as everyone said, and I'll just say it myself, I didn't take it lightly. Then I want to thank my board colleagues for the transition. It was an interesting transition. I came in November when we were reviewing the annual portfolio, which I was the first student member to vote on. And that came with a lot of criticism, came with a lot of eyes. But the board office and the board staff and, everyone just supported me on my journey as commissioner. I would like to thank the chiefs in the room. I don't know where they are, but thank you to all the chiefs for all of my long questions and my side questions that I have for you all. You all have been amazing and assisted me not only through this journey, but through journey in leadership and journey in educational leadership, which I inspired to do. So I would like to thank you all. I know I said it again, but I'll say it one more time. Thanks to the board office. Dr. Judkins, thank you so much. Tanisha, Patricia, Dewana, Lashana, everyone that assists in making the board what it is. I really appreciate it. And you've just assisted me on my way. So thank you all. I'm forever grateful. I will be back. Like I was gonna say, I will be back. But again, thank you to everyone. And congratulations, Dylan. Congratulations, Dylan.
That's it for you. That's it for you. Congratulations, Jameer. Board acknowledges a donation in the amount of $7,500 from the Teach for America's Vision for Baltimore program to Highlandtown Elementary School. Is there a motion to approve the PEP and quasi-judicial matters?
So moved, Robert.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad.
Yes.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Sally.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. Commissioner Coy, are you in favor? Are you there?
Yes.
I see you unmuted. We can't hear you. So that motion passes with 8 in favor and 1 absent. If we need to come back to edit the record, we can do that. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Santelises for CEO comments.
Thank you, Chair McFadden. I am going to invite Chief Emily Nielsen for this evening's PEP agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. Good evening, commissioners. If you are on tonight's PEP, if you are in person, if you can stand when I read your name, or if you are joining us online, if you can turn on your camera so that we can recognize you. From the Office of the Chief Academic Officer, appointments, recommended that Kristen Quashie, currently Assistant Principal at Baltimore Leadership for Young Women, be appointed Educational Specialist 2, School Improvement, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Benjamin Roberts, currently Senior Principal Coach, be appointed Director Post-Secondary Success, effective June 13th, 2024. Recommended that Rodney Wallace, currently Educational Associate 12-month, be appointed Educational Specialist 2, Safety Conferencing, effective July 1st, 2024. And a reassignment. Recommended that Matthew Cottle, currently Coordinator Literacy Coaching, be reassigned Coordinator Grade 9 Support, effective July 1st, 2024. From the Office of the Chief of Schools, an appointment. Recommended that Antonio Bias, currently Assistant Principal at Excel Schools, be appointed Assistant Principal at Edmondson Westside High School, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Erica Gravette, currently Assistant Principal at Mary G. Faring Elementary Middle, be appointed Principal Resident at Violetville Elementary Middle, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Sean Mason, currently Assistant Principal at National Academy Foundation High School, be appointed Principal at New Song Academy, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Deborah Holt, currently Principal Resident at Curtis Bay Elementary Middle, be appointed Principal at Fort Worthington Elementary Middle, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Jessica McLeod, currently Assistant Principal at Connections Academy, be appointed Principal at Cherry Hill Elementary Middle, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Malcolm Rowe, currently Assistant Principal at Hazelwood Elementary Middle, be appointed Principal Resident at Curtis Bay Elementary Middle, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Jermaine Skinner, currently Assistant Principal at Frederick Douglass High School, be appointed Principal at Morgan Vocational Technical High School, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Brendan Walmer, currently Educational Associate 10-month at Walter P. Carter Elementary Middle, be appointed Assistant Principal at Walter P. Carter Elementary Middle, effective July 1st, 2024. And reassignments. Recommended that Zarana De Leon, currently Assistant Principal at City Springs Elementary Middle, be assigned Assistant Principal at Hazelwood Elementary Middle, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Troy Eastman, currently Assistant Principal at Morgan Vocational Technical High School, be assigned Assistant Principal at Lois T. Murray Elementary Middle School, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Janet Latty, currently Assistant Principal at Edmondson Westside High School, be reassigned Assistant Principal at Academy for College and Career Exploration, effective July 1st, 2024. Recommended that Jeremy Slack, currently Assistant Principal at Edmondson Westside High School, be reassigned Assistant Principal at Calvin M. Rodwell Elementary Middle, effective July 1st, 2024. And then on the CEO notification from the Office of the Chief Academic Officer and interim, Lori Lynn Sutton, currently Director of Summer and Expanded Learning, be appointed Interim Executive Director Academics, effective July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. From the Office of the Chief Financial Officer, an appointment, John Cullinane, currently Product Owner, Business ERP and Data Analytic, be appointed Director Financial Systems effective July 1st, 2024. And reassignments from the Office of the Chief of Schools. Carl Perry, currently Principal, be reassigned Principal External Assignment effective July 1st, 2024. Sabrina Hopkins, currently Educational Associate 12 months, be reassigned Educational Associate External Assignment effective July 1st, 2024. And Kenya Campbell Hopkins, currently Educational Associate 12 months, be reassigned Educational Associate 12 months External Assignment effective July 1st, 2024. Congratulations to everyone on tonight's PEP.
Thank you, Chief Nielsen. As has become our practice, or as is our practice right now, I would like to give a little more detail for our principal appointments this evening. First, Jermaine Skinner comes from Frederick Douglass High School, where he served as assistant principal for the last 6 years. Previously, he served for 8 years as teacher, academic lead, and assistant principal at Mervo. He holds a bachelor's degree from Coppin State University and a master's degree in education from Notre Dame of Maryland University. This fall, Mr. Skinner will receive his doctorate in education from Notre Dame of Maryland University. Congratulations. Deborah Holt comes to City Schools from Compass Community Schools in Memphis, Tennessee, where she was the K-8 founding principal. Previously, she worked for 3 years as the 7th through 12th grade principal at Memphis Catholic Middle and High School, where 100% of seniors were accepted into a 2-year or 4-year college. Ms. Holt holds a bachelor's degree from Memphis State University and 2 master's degrees from Grand Canyon University. Congratulations, Principal Holt. Jessica McLeod is a native Baltimorean and an educator for the past 20 years. A self-taught Spanish scholar, she taught Spanish in Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, and Baltimore City Public Schools. Previously, Ms. McLeod served as assistant principal of Connections for 8 years, and she received a Bachelor of Arts in English and Spanish language from Bowie State University, as well as a Master's in Education, Administration, and Supervision from Notre Dame of Maryland University. Congratulations, Principal McLeod. And finally, Dr. Sean M. Mason comes to New Song Academy from National Academy Foundation, where he served as assistant principal. He is a seasoned education leader with over 30 years of experience. Dr. Mason previously held the title of Assistant Superintendent of Planning and Accountability in Schenectady City School District. He holds a Doctor of Education degree in Educational Administration and is a certified superintendent in both Maryland and New York. Congratulations again, Dr. Mason. As the board chair noted, I am very pleased to really note again this evening the celebration of more than 3,600 high school seniors who walked across the stage during citywide graduation ceremonies for the class of 2024. I had the opportunity to attend, as every year, some of the graduations, and really it is the culmination of a lot of our work from City Schools, where we have young people who enter as young as 3, and then when they finally cross the stage, as the chair noted, it really is a reminder of why we all do what we do. I also want to take some time. I know we have celebrated the graduates, but I do want to celebrate their teachers, school-based and district office staff, school leaders, and community partners Your concern and support for our young people is why we had over 3,600 cross the stage and why our graduation rates continue to rise every year. We're not where we want to be, but we certainly can see the trajectory of growth, and it is because of all of your work. And then finally, I want to update everyone concerning the progress of our district office workplace initiative, a program that I know the board chair referenced earlier that really is about improving safety and security and really creating more pleasing work environments that actually help to enhance our productivity and to provide public spaces that reflect positively on city schools. In the past few months, we have completely redone the restrooms throughout all of district office, while also renovating the boardroom to create a more flexible and welcome gathering space for board meetings and other opportunities. We have also renovated, I used to call it like the dark cave, room 301, that is much better to see, and the nods are going because people know, to provide modern, flexible spaces for training and for staff development. In addition, we completed the first phase of work in both the Guilford lobby and the North Avenue lobby, including fresh paint, new floors, and other improvements. Other lobby improvements, such as furniture, glass doors and partitions, displays, lighting, and enhanced security protocols will be added in the coming months. Finally, we will be installing a uniform ADA compliant signage system throughout the building. I do want to give a big shout out to the operations team for their work on the restrooms. And to Michael McBride in the Chief of Staff Office, who really is leading the effort to update our meeting rooms. I think everyone will agree that the significant changes, I told Michael, nobody knows how to put swatches together like he does. If I could, I would. He makes the way that I redid our carpet put to shame, so at home. But he does a fabulous job. We want to thank both he and the operations team. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair McFadden.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. And one thing that Michael mentions too, right, McBride, are the colors and
that's right.
The design, the overall design of spaces and what that does for folks and for different settings. So yes, again, kudos to the team. Thank you all very much for all of the work that you continue to do for city schools. Colleagues, I will now review the consent agenda. Board colleagues, please let me know if you would like an item removed, and please state your question for staff, or if it will just be pulled for a vote. Item 9.01, gift and donation. I also want to make sure that the record reflects that Commissioner Coy did vote in favor of the PEP and quasi-judicial matters. We just can't hear them in the room, but they are able to be heard via Teams. So if we could look into that, that would be helpful for the sake of our meeting this evening. Item 9.02, paraprofessional and school-related personnel chapter, Baltimore Teachers Union, the American Federation of Teachers, Local 340, AFL, CIO, PSRP, contract extension. Item 9.03, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL, CIO, contract extension. Fraternal Order of Police, contract extension, item 9.04. Item 9.05, JCLDB, anaphylaxis, identification and treatment in schools, second reader. Item 9.06, policy FFA, naming/renaming a school facility. Item 9.07, CEO contract.
I'd like to pull it. Chair McFadden, I'd like to pull it for a vote.
Thank you. We will pull 9.07 for a vote. Item 11.01, New Leaders Incorporated. Item 12.01, Music Instrument Supplies and Materials. Item 12.02, Edmentum Incorporated. Item 12.03, the Associated Catholic Charities, the Villa Maria School. Item 12.04, Young Audiences of Maryland Incorporated. Item 12.05, Baltimore School for the Arts Foundation. Item 17.01, Catapult Learning, LLC. Item 19.01, the Y in Central Maryland. Item 20.01, Translation, Interpreter, and American Sign Language Services. Thank you. We will now move to public comment. Speakers from recognized groups will have the opportunity to speak for 5 minutes. First, we have Zach Taylor representing the Baltimore Teachers Union.
Good evening. Just to cut in as quick as I can, because it's a lot of details. 5 minutes, as someone who used to make board comments all the time used to say, is never enough. We have a significant issue. It is hurting morale. It's distracting staff from their students. It's really ruining the celebrations we typically have at the end of the year. And as board members have seen in dozens of emails that you've received from teachers, the district's sudden and retroactive denial of Idaho State University graduate credits has significantly damaged the trust and the confidence that teachers have in the district and in city schools leadership. Our contract with you, with the board, says 1 college credit equals 1 achievement unit. Achievement units are how teachers climb the pay scales. And this isn't a system that was devised by BTU and sold to district leadership. It was created by a former CEO Alonzo, and was bargained with the BTU, but it was the district's idea. Our contract is a commitment. It's a promise to the teachers, to the clinicians of this school system. And to provide a little timeline on the ISU issue, C Schools has accepted ISU credits for years for achievement units. ISU coursework has been accepted for tuition reimbursement. ISU courses have been used and approved to meet the district's requirements for its comprehensive literacy course requirements in order to move through the pay scale faster. We have dozens of emails from human capital specialists where human capital employees tell teachers and clinicians your credits will count for AUs. And this is this month, or rather, this is the month of May, the month of April, the month of March, and so on. We have these. In April, City Schools talked with BTU leadership and said, we are pausing the processing of these credits. We're taking a look. And then we receive a written communication saying, we're going ahead and we're processing these. ISU is also explicitly listed on your website. It says these credits are good for achievement units. The document was titled Approved AU Courses. So this was the case all the way up until June 4th. On June 4th, that document changed. It said, as of June 1st, we're not accepting, we won't process them. And then no email was sent to teachers until a few days after that. So for years, we have a situation where these credits have been accepted and the teachers of this school system relied on you. They relied on what you've laid out teachers need to do in order to move up the pay scale. And they took action. They spent their own money on courses. Some people have spent over $3,000 on courses already. June 1st was a new registration deadline. So June 1st, June 2nd, that's the weekend. You had teachers spend $1,600 and spend the entire weekend. And I've talked to dozens who have spent 12 hours on Saturday and 12 hours on Sunday working on this. So teachers relied on you. And they did this in order to improve their earning potential in city schools. Why are these courses popular? Because they're some of the only courses that are affordable. They're $55 a credit. When you look around our region, credits cost hundreds of dollars. It's expensive. So teachers took advantage of this. You all said it was okay. And now they're being told your future's uncertain in terms of what these credits count. And in fact, we're just not going to count anymore. Some people have emailed, said, I finished my course on May 31st. I just am waiting to submit the transcript. I'm waiting on the transcript. The district says we're not counting it. And I have those emails. We have those emails. You have been CC'd on some of them. So we need action. There's a lot, there are many more details. There are many more issues we have with our pay. There's issues with the district representing human capital's actions accurately. If you look at your recent Setting the Record Straight post, it's inaccurate. There's all sorts of issues there. And we've requested that it be amended or taken down. Zero response. So you're going to hear more tonight. We really need the board to exercise its governance authority to oversee and hold accountable. This is unacceptable, and teachers are upset, and they took actions based off of your word. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thad. Next, we'll have Ms. Debbie Demry, the president of the PTA Council of Baltimore City. Good evening, Debbie.
Good evening. So good evening, everyone. It's always nice to showcase a PTA school. Dr. Santelises, thank you for accommodating National PTA in their request. Thank you. I want to showcase one Baltimore City school that always participates in PTA events. They qualify for grants and they win them, but it's not enough. You know, other schools can take advantage of this if they would just remember what the value of PTA is. PTA is about advocacy. So in 2021, National PTA launched the Healthy Minds program with support from National PTA sponsors, the All-State Foundation, CDC Foundation, Go Guardian, and the New York Life Foundation. The Healthy Minds program helps families prioritize and maintain their mental health. The program formalizes and builds on the association's long-standing commitment to provide and advocate for enhanced mental health programs and services for children and families. Just as we care about our physical health, we should also prioritize our mental health. Thank you and congratulations to Dr. Deborah Wallace and the Renaissance Academy family for being the winners of a Healthy Minds grant sponsored by the All-State Foundation, and I believe it was $1,500. Each year, National PTA sponsors an arts program called Reflections. It showcases art created by students all over the country using different media. The theme this year was I Am Hopeful Because. For the last 3 years, Renaissance has been the only school in Baltimore City with students participating in the program. Students compete at the local level and move to the state level, and if chosen, go to the national level. This year, we moved 5 entries to state competition, and 1 was chosen to move to the national level. Although we didn't win at national level this time, there's always next year. Those who moved to the state level are Jezaniah Hagler, Kamisha Norman, Tyler McFadden, Jeremiah Monroe, and Naja Berry. Naja Berry was chosen by the state to move to the national level. So once again, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Deborah Wallace for her commitment to the students and families at Renaissance, and Principal Woodhouse for believing in the value and power of PTA. Thank you very much.
I'll now turn it over to our Board Executive Officer, Dr. Jennifer Juckins, for public comment.
Thank you, Chair. We have 10 public comments this evening. Our first is from Tia Hopkins, and this will be live in person. You will have 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tia Hopkins, and it's always funny when people talk about human capital because I actually work in human capital right across the hall. I'm also a member of the Baltimore Teachers Union PSRP chapter, and I'm here today to address the issue that we don't really talk much about, and it is the lack of adequate paid parental leave within Baltimore City schools. Today, you will all vote on an extension of the PSAP contract because you all cannot agree on new terms, which would include fixing this deficiency. And I do not believe that the voters who either elected you all directly or elected the mayor and gave him the discretion to appoint fair school board members are aware of the lack of understanding and compassion toward the employees who give so much to city schools and the students. Currently, city schools guarantees just 1 day of paid leave when an employee has a baby. I have brought this to the attention of the board, and I made sure that you all knew this, and yet the board turns a blind eye to this issue. And when I brought this issue to the board, the response I received back was that, quote, the request from Tia Hopkins asking for more parental leave was submitted by BTU during negotiations. And I can't understand why you all would say this if you all knew that you didn't support more than a day of paid leave. The union has made it very clear to me that there was no counter proposal and that you all referenced a law that goes into effect in 2026 as to why you all refuse to give more than 1 day of paid leave. This tells me that the board doesn't want to do what's right unless required by the state legislature to do what's right. And there's nothing stopping this board from implementing paid leave earlier than the state will require us to do so. I live in this city, I went to public schools in this city, I own a home in this city, I pay taxes in this city, I work in this city, and this is a city that has no problem spending $300 million in police overtime without batting an eye or giving the CEO a contract where she can cash out nearly $50,000 in paid leave a year in addition to her compensation. And yet the office secretary that makes a little over $17 an hour is expected to somehow to be able to save and go unpaid if they don't have the paid time off saved up or donate, or if they didn't donate hours to the sick bank. So I'm here today because clearly there are some of you here that believe that just 1 day of paid leave is enough. And I would like to know on the record which members are blocking the BTU proposal, because I do think that it should be said on the record. So that is why I'm here.
Thank you. Our next public comment is Victoria Perkins. The topic is current AU-ISU fight, and this will be an email that is read. A second. Good evening. I'm a brand new employee of BCPSS. Many of you can empathize with how difficult being the new person at work can be. Not only am I new to BCPSS, I am new to Maryland. I moved 1,379 miles. The issue of BCPSS not honoring the predetermined agreement of AUs and ISU course credits cannot be ignored. I am just one story, but I represent a large subset of staff. I am the sole provider for my disabled husband. I have acquired $55,000 in student debt, which, though I never missed a payment, is $17,000 higher than when I graduated. In 2023, all of my credit cards were ceased. Seized, though, again, I never missed a payment. When you are an educator making the bare minimum salary, debt becomes catastrophic. You may say, grind harder, buy less. I challenge your suggestions with the fact that I filed 6 W-2s in March. 6. Needless to say, I do grind. How does this all tie into a few college credits? As a naive, brand new employee, my district encouraged me to work towards incentive-based pay. As a first-year employee, I was told I could work hard and earn a living wage. With this guidance, I took the initiative and signed up for ISU classes to increase my salary and better my practice. However, on Saturday, June 8th at 7:02 p.m., BCPSS emailed me that as of June 1st, 8 days earlier, these credits are no longer valid. I signed up and paid for ISU classes in good faith, and BCPSS retracted their endorsement of the accredited courses. I am now confronted with the fact that I cannot earn the AUs that BCPSS endorsed. Additionally, as a first-year employee, I do not qualify for pay all year. I learned this fact in February. Now I have 1 paycheck left, no credit cards, and an additional bill which will remind me monthly that I was deceived. Rumors have spread that some courses might be counted or some reimbursed. However, in the same email from BCPSS, I was also informed that all AUs submitted by March 24th were applied and paid in the April 26th adjustment. This claim is not true, and BTU is working on this dispute. As a new employee who is thrilled to be in Baltimore, I am unable to trust the district and struggling to believe the directives I receive. Though my year at has been the most amazing year of my career, I am nervous about the future of BCPSS. Best, Miss Victoria C. Perkins. The next public comment is Janelle Bobbitt. Topic is contradiction of not accepting ISU courses for AUs. Human Capital gave us their word. This is also an email to be read. Dear colleagues, City Schools has been at the forefront when it comes to investing in the teaching profession with our local career pathways for educators. We've seen the energy and interest amongst our educators to advance along these pathways for over a decade. The Kerwin Blueprint for Maryland's Future requires that by the 2024-2025 school year, districts have in place a career ladder that supports teacher leadership and educators' professional growth and development. City Schools wants to use this moment to better meet the current needs of educators and support student achievement by building on the strengths and addressing some of the challenges of our existing career pathways. To align with the Kerwin legislation, City Schools has been working on ways to improve pathways for teachers, also known as the Teacher Career Ladder, to increase their skills, leadership, and compensation. This framework, which City Schools leadership shared with the BTU in July, meets the Kerwin Blueprint Act requirements and meets our goals for advancing teacher development, leadership, and compensation. The new framework creates more pathways to leadership, has faster interval progression leading to salary increases, and represents an increased overall investment in teacher compensation, more than what is required by law. On October 25th, in the BTU Joint Operating Committee, JOC, comprised of City Schools and BTU representatives, City Schools representatives voted to not recertify the pathways in the BTU contract. This means that the current pathways will no longer be in effect after June 30th, 2024 for teachers. This means the contract states that when the pathway is not recertified, BTU members' salaries and benefits will not decrease. BTU members will continue to earn AUs through 2023-24 school year, and HC will continue to process them. Currently approved AU menu items and professional development activities that are completed during the 2023-24 school year will be honored. What will happen with evaluation AUs and any AU balance as of June 30th, 2024 is subject to negotiations with BTU. City Schools and BTU have already agreed that there will be model teacher selections during 2023-24 school year. As teachers matter, we will maintain open lanes of dialogue with the BTU to find the best career pathway solution for our educators. We have an opportunity for sustainable change and ask for your patience while we work with our labor partner to develop it. Should you have any further questions, please email Teacher Pathways at bcps.k12.md.us. Keep in mind that we may not have answers to a number of questions as they will be subject to negotiations with BTU. We will keep you posted with any new developments or changes and provide further guidance when it becomes available. Next public comment is Nicole White Samuels. Topic, AU compensation, employee compensation, and college courses. Email to be read. Give me just a moment. Dear School Board, urgent attention is needed to address a critical issue affecting numerous employees in the organization. Delays in receiving compensation due to AUs needing to be promptly approved and employees' career pathway profile not being updated are causing significant distress. I, myself, had to wait an entire school year to receive compensation for my AUs. Despite numerous emails to Zelda Johnson, an adjustment in compensation was only made after seeking assistance from BTU. On June 10, 2024, 12 AUs were removed from my career pathway profile, yet no increase in compensation was received. AUs have been pending approval by Ms. Johnson and her team since May 20th, 2024. I'm still awaiting a response to an email I sent to her. The situation is of utmost concern as it has negative implications for staff and the overall morale within the schools. The delay in compensating employees is not just a financial issue, it's a matter of employee well-being and the organization's reputation. Many employees rely on their salaries for daily needs, bills, and family support. We must receive our compensation on time to avoid late bill payments and financial stress, impacting the staff's overall well-being. Moreover, the delay erodes trust and confidence in the organization. Employees may feel undervalued and unappreciated when they are not paid promptly for their hard work and dedication. This can lead to decreased morale and productivity and ultimately affect employee well-being. On June 4, 2024, staff were informed that BCPSS would not accept courses administered by the Albion Center for Professional Development at Idaho State University. Many employees paid for courses on June 1, 2024, with the expectation of receiving AUs. It is crucial that we address this issue with the utmost urgency and ensure that all employees receive their compensation on time and are permitted to take courses as per the employee agreements. I urge the school board to not only investigate the root causes of these delays and implement necessary measures to streamline the compensation process, but also to communicate transparently with the affected employees. Our employees are the backbone of this organization, and our well-being is paramount. Open dialogue is key to resolving this issue. It is essential that we prioritize employee needs and ensure that we are treated with respect and professionalism that we deserve. I trust that the school board will take immediate action to resolve this issue and prevent any further delays in compensating our employees. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Nicole White Samuels. Thank you. Our next public comment is Reverend Richard A. Mosley. Agenda topic. He's commenting in live in person. Mr. Mosley, come on up. And his topic is Mr. Bernard Desern. Thank you. I'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Give a preacher 3 minutes. Okay, we'll try it. See what happens. Good evening, members of the board, school board. My name is Reverend Richard A. Mosley. I'm the senior spiritual advisor at New Solid Rock Pentecostal Church, where Reverend Ebony Harvin is the pastor. My concern is the ruminations that Mr. Desern may be transferred from Carver Vocational Technical High School. And the concern is that Mr. Desern has spent 30 years at Carver, and that should speak for itself. Amen. But in a very positive way. But since that doesn't seem to be the case, let me just share a few things with you. Mr. Desern is a constant presence in the community, especially at opening and dismissal time, without regard for his own personal safety, but for the safety and the direction of his Carver students. I know many Carver alumni, and they all speak highly of Mr. Desern, his caring and no-nonsense ways of interacting with his students and encouraging them. About 4 or 5 years ago, when I accompanied former Governor Hogan to Carver to introduce the P-TECH program, one of the biggest cheerleaders I found at the school was Mr. DeZern. And my concern is that if he's being transferred and the principal has already been transferred, who's going to make the connection or be the bridge of transition with the new or the incoming administration, the person who has the historical and the historical knowledge of what the P-TECH program was and how it got implemented at Carver. I think that's important that we keep those things in mind. In addition to the fact that anytime you have a new administration and their rules or their way of doing things may be different, which is fine, but you don't have that person who is also that the children are familiar with, that voice and that presence that the children are familiar with, to be able to bridge those new ideas or new rules. And that can be very disruptive for the students. And I think that that's something else that needs to be taken into consideration. Mr. DeZern has been a very, very integral part of Carver High School. And let me just say this on a final note and a personal note. My grandson, my 16-year-old grandson, attends Carver Vocational Technical High School. All throughout his elementary and middle school years, he's had some very serious academic challenges. He's arrived at Carver and is going to be a junior next year and has been on the honor roll the last 2 years that he's been at Carver. I can personally say that from the first day that he arrived at Carver, his academic transformation has been one that it was remarkable and one that I have not seen before. I can tell you that I spent 25 years with the Parent Advisory Council here in Baltimore City for my older children, for my children, I'm sorry, and spent 5 years as the president of the Parent Advisory Council, and found a lot of those times that when we make changes, we don't consider the children. And that is an important thing that we have to do. You're talking about children who've just matriculated in most cases from middle school or early adolescence to young adulthood, and we expect them to just grab a hold of whatever changes that we're making without rhyme or reason. And then, so my thing is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Or if it is broke, at least leave a bridge there, somebody to bridge that gap. And with Mr. DeZern's inspiration, my most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge members, men of our lodge, have come to the school. They had that significant African-American presence in the morning to try to deter any things that are going on in the community. In addition, my Jerusalem Temple number 4, the ancient Egyptian Arabic Order Nobles of the Mystic Shrine of North and South America, we have had a presence around Carver. So I think, when you have, it's particularly in Baltimore City, you got African-American men willing to step out and do something, then I think that warrants some consideration and also actually warrants some compliment from the individual who has been pushing for that. So that, with all due respect to you all, please reconsider if in fact Mr. DeZern is scheduled to be transferred. I didn't hear his name on the reassignment list, so I'm kind of surprised, but I'm glad if that's going to be a fact. And I thank you all very much.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Michael Kranick. Topic is Idaho State University credits, and this will be an email that's read. Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Michael Kranick, and I am a special education ELA teacher within city schools. I'm writing to address the Idaho State University coursework and the district's shift to end the processing of ISU college credits as of June 1st. District leaders recognize that teachers found an affordable, accessible, and again, approved institution to develop professionally and receive postgraduate credits. Specifically, Idaho State University. District leaders also knew that ISU courses had been approved on the AU menu item list for years. For context, every 1 credit for a course from an accredited college university equates to 1 achievement unit. For every 12 achievement units, equating to 12 credits. Members of the teacher chapter increase their base salary so long as they are submitted prior to June 30th. This condition is written in the current and previous teacher chapter contracts. meaning that the district acknowledges this fact by signing the agreement. The district's actions regarding the rescinding of the approval of ISU courses to be used for achievement units, as well as changing the credit submission date to June 1st, retroactively in an email sent to staff on June 3rd, were performed in bad faith as they are attempting to discourage any additional teacher chapter members from submitting their earned coursework to advance their careers. They are relying upon chaos, anger, and confusion to save their wallets down the line and are using the grievance arbitration system, which could last up to a full calendar year to be completed, to check the clock out. In short, their actions are ethically dubious, a blatant contract violation, and a waste of not only teacher chapter members' time, but the staff of National Labor Relations Board, simply because they do not like the contract to which they have already agreed and approved. Thank you for your time and consideration. Our next public comment is from Monica Heisner. Agenda topic, Idaho State University AU courses, and email to be read. Comment, the school board must honor its word and acknowledge professional work done by teachers and staff. As a Baltimore City educator, the Idaho State University classes have been helpful to me in learning more about specific areas of professional development. I have taken classes on everything from community schools to suicide prevention. This learning has been valuable for me and my school community. It is only right that the school board award the accreditation units AUs for these courses, as they clearly agreed to at the beginning of the year in an approved list of courses. Shame on the board for attempting to shortchange the work done by educators during the last month of the school year 23-24 school year. It is only right to award the hard work that was done in good faith by educators to professionally develop themselves with the courses you already approved. Thank you. Our next public comment is from Jocelyn Providence. Agenda topic, maternity, paternity leave, and compensation. This will be a video.
There's no sound, Dr. Judkins.
Restart. The board office, Tanisha, Patricia, can you guys restart it? We cannot hear. There's no sound.
Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you, Tanisha.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Providence, and I'm a high school math teacher in Baltimore City, and I'll be talking about compensation and the maternity paternity leave policy. As someone who has taught in Baltimore City for a decade and plans to continue to work in Baltimore City in the future, I do it because I feel driven and compelled to do the work. This year, I have had some of the students I taught in middle school graduate around the city, and also a high school. And as a high school teacher, I've had the pleasure of encouraging and celebrating many of my students as they make themselves and their families proud by graduating and continuing on after high school as college students or into other career pathways. We all know that it is a group and community effort that is needed, and a lot of that effort does not come from the usual school day hours. It comes from the extracurricular staff lead like sports, coach classes, and clubs that help our students develop and grow both inside and outside of the classroom. Everyone knows and agrees that these are necessary for the success of our students, schools, and community. So everyone should also agree that there is a continued need for compensation to support these efforts. It is a disgrace that the district has refused to communicate the plans for next year for items such as achievement units and student-facing projects that myself and other teachers have spent time creating and investing our time and energy into. This also goes along with teachers and other staff members taking courses and credits that support their learning and development for our students. As we better ourselves and learn, we better our students and our schools. Simply taking away compensation that acknowledges and supports our efforts in the developing of our students into holistic citizens makes us feel unappreciative and undervalued. Finally, the school board, previously school board members, and current and previous members of the district staff and Dr. Santelises have heard me say this so many times, but I'll continue to say it until it is changed. It is immoral for you all to force Baltimore City employees to split their paternity and maternity leave if they are married to another Baltimore City employee. You all are denying the birthing parent full time to recover, along with their partner, to support recovery and bond with the newborn. We as educators know how important the first couple of years and even the first couple of months are for the health and well-being of the child. And yet you all continue this policy even though you'll have the ability to change it. As I previously stated, I've been saying this for years. At this point, the fact that y'all haven't changed it continues to be disrespectful. If you value us, respect our time, respect our health, and our family's well-being. Thank you and have a good one.
Thank you. The next public comment is from LaShavir Burns. The topic will be Mr. DeZern remaining at Carver for 100th anniversary after 35 years of service. Commenting now. Thank you. We'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for taking a moment to hear our comments. Thank you for the hard work that you all put in. On behalf of Carverville Vocational Technical High School, we have a staff member that's been in our building for 35 years, and we are for children. Mr. DeZern has been in Carver as a student and as an employee. We're asking the powers to be to reconsider, to have him to stay in the building. He is a heartbeat for Carver. And a lot of times when we think about education, we think about the well-being and the safety of our children and of our community. We all have flaws and make mistakes. We all do. However, when he comes to work, he comes for the betterment of Carver, not for Mr. DeZern, but for the children. He wants what's best for our children. So I'm asking, please, can you all take a moment to reach out? I don't know where to go, but here, to reconsider Mr. DeZern to stay at Carver. Even if it's a short moment to say, I need you to train another heartbeat to be in the building, because our children need a heartbeat that loves the school, that loves the community, and that loves them and have their well-being at heart. So I ask one more time, the powers to be, can you reconsider or talk to the person to make the change to keep Mr. DeZern, who has been at Carver working as a staff member, as a teacher, administrator for 35 years, and was a student for his high school career at Carver Vocational Technical High School. I thank you for your time. I ask that you all please think about it, because he is definitely worth staying at Carver. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our last public comment will be Curtis Davis. Agenda topic, Mr. DeZern remaining at Carver. And this will be a live comment, but virtual. If Mr. Davis is online, if you can unmute and you can come on camera. It doesn't look like we have Mr. Davis. Chair, that is the end of public comments.
Forgive me. Made some public comments. Are there any additional? Thank you for everyone and who gave public comment tonight. Are there any additional items that board members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve all of the consent agenda items with the exception of 9.07?
So moved. Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Vice Chair Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Thank you. We can hear you now. Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed? Commissioner Rooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington?
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes with 9 in favor and 1 absent. Is there a motion to approve item 9.07?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Slater-Harrington, is there a second?
Second, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor? Vice Chair Roberts?
No.
Commissioner Coy?
As I cast my vote, I do want to express that I'm really glad that we've arrived at having a contract for vote today. It certainly was giving me a lot of anxiety to be this late in the school year and not have this concluded yet. And while I know there's been a diversity of opinion among the board, it certainly makes me relieved to have a consensus for a vote and for the district to benefit for another year of Dr. Santa Lisa's leadership. I also want to just acknowledge that there's incoming board members, right? As we talked about previously, that in the application window, there are 5 board seats, including mine, that are actually that are either vacant, term ending, or up for reappointment by the mayor. And this is a significant number. And I think it's important for us as a board to really welcome those individuals in, as they'll be the ones who are continuing our seats in the future. And as was highlighted by Commissioner Lawson, now Emeritus Commissioner Lawson in our celebration tonight, our time here each individually is limited by design, and I believe in the importance that's been demonstrated of holding space to pass the torch on to those that follow, and even deferring to those most directly impacted by the decisions that we're making, however long or short our time is.
Pleasure in voting.
Yeah, well, my vote on this to renew the contract is yes.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Esposito?
Yes. I'd just like to co-sign on that. And also, I do think it's important that we have like a well-documented process for the knowledge transfer for future commissioners. And so I vote yes.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Muhammad?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
Commissioner Slater-Harrington?
Yes.
I am also in favor. That motion passes with 8 in favor and 1 opposed. And with that, as voted on tonight, the board is eager to engage in a contract extension with Dr. Sonia Santelises. We remain committed to collaborating with you and all stakeholders as we work to improve outcomes for each of our children and families. Dr. Santelises, would you like to make a comment?
I just want to thank the board. I want to thank Team City Schools just for the work that has led us to the point where we do see an increased trajectory of outcomes for our young people, but we still have a good amount of work before us. We know that school closes officially tomorrow, but that just signals the beginning of another round of work with summer school and getting ready for the upcoming school year. So I want to thank the board thank my team, and thank my family. So thank you, Board. Chair.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll now move into item 10.01, policy KCB, volunteers. This is the first reader.
First reader. Can I go? Yeah, I mean, we can.
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, CEO, Dr. Santelises, and Board Commissioners. We are here this evening to present KCB. I am Tina Hike-Hubbard, Chief of Communications, Engagement, and Enrollment. I am here with my fantastic team. To my right, Kim Wiggins, Manager of Partnerships and Volunteers, Rebecca Henry, who's our Volunteer Specialist, and Christopher Battaglia, who is our Director of Community Engagement. We are very excited, Battaglia. Battaglia.
I did it right.
Battaglia. He actually loves the way you say it, Commissioner McFadden.
Or George Clooney.
Or George Clooney, as he likes to be called sometimes. Yes. But we're here today to talk about KCB, updates to our board policy around our volunteer strategy. And I just have to say as an intro that I am so proud of this dream team, as they call themselves, Rebecca and Kim, for really elevating not only our partnership work at the district level, but also how volunteers access and engage with the district. And so you will hear not only the policy updates, but a nice overview of the work we've done to date about our partnerships and volunteers work and the exciting things that they have planned. And I want to thank some of our commissioners, like Commissioner Mohammed, who has been a presence at many of our volunteer events. So thank you, sir, for joining and signing up and showing our volunteers and partners that love. And with that, I will let them present. I will stay here for questions and support as needed. So Kim and Rebecca, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chief. So we have a lot of content to discuss, so we will jump right into it. But I'd also like to thank Chris Battaglia, our director. Thank you for being here for the support. So our volunteer work is guided by these board policies, Priority 1, Priority 4, and Priority 5. And before we get into the recommendations that we're making to update the board policy, we want to talk a little bit about the partnerships and volunteers team. So the main thing that we use to track our partners and volunteers is the Partners in Education portal, which we call PI. It was launched in April of 2020, and I don't know if anybody here remembers April 2020, but you know this application didn't get the love that made. Do you remember? I don't know. What were you doing then? Okay, you weren't worrying about the PI portal. That's what you were doing. But with that said, everyone got to work, and the work that we were doing around partnerships at that time. December 2020, we instituted partner quarterly convenings where partners could get together with the district and we could leverage each other, talk about concerns, and inform our partners. In May of 2021, we introduced the strategic framework, which is work done with a partnership between Baltimore's Promise that was funded for T. Rowe Price to really discuss how we handled partnerships in the district. In November of 2022, we added a new position because previously this team was one person, and we added the volunteer specialist, which was Rebecca. And then in February 2023, I took over for Monique Sims, the special assistant, to fill her very large shoes, and we became what we like to call the dream team. One of the first events we were able to do was April 2023, where we did our first volunteer appreciation event in person after the shutdown. And in March 14th, 2024, we started Pi Day, because how could you not capitalize on that when your application is called Pi? And it was a mix and greet with partners and schools, and Commissioner Mohammed was there. I believe he had a lovely time. So let me talk a little bit about PI, our Partners in Education portal. That is a tool that we use for volunteers to register and complete orientation in PI. And the orientation is a video, and it's both in Spanish and in English. Orientation includes information on mandatory reporting of child abuse and neglect, but it also gives context to how our volunteers should work in the district. PI automatically runs the sex offender registry screening that is needed for everyone who volunteers with Baltimore City Schools. Schools are able to review these clearance levels in PI as opposed to having to track a spreadsheet or some other source. You can see it all in PI. Schools can recruit their volunteers by posting opportunities, so saying what they need volunteers for, and then volunteers can also check in PI to accept these opportunities, and PI can also track this engagement. And we also use PI to communicate with volunteers via notices, emails, and we do send out a monthly newsletter. We want to show you a little bit about the process of onboarding volunteers so that when we go into the policy updates, things will make more sense. So as I already discussed, volunteers register in PI, they complete the orientation, and the sex offender registry clearance is conducted in PI. Volunteers find their opportunities, they browse it in PI, and then they reach out to the school for interest. Then the school is going to let them know whether or not they're required to get additional background, criminal background checking, which is fingerprinting, and we'll discuss that soon. Another thing I'd like to show you is the screening process. So as he said, they register in PI, they connect with the school, and then in PI you can schedule your fingerprinting appointments, and we check the clearance is updated bi-weekly in PI, and then our volunteers would obtain a badge from Human Capital if they do receive an additional criminal background check, and then we have a process that rescreens against the sex offender registry list annually of when they first registered in PI. This is a graphic which highlights that, so it's just easy to read. The X's are when you don't need to get the additional criminal background check. Many people who want to volunteer for city schools think that, oh, I automatically have to get fingerprinted, but we pay for the fingerprinting of our volunteers, so we want to make sure that they need to get fingerprinted. So if you're just going to if you're not going to have any contact with students, or if you're not going to, or if you're going to be supervised and infrequent in the schools, and infrequent is 4 or fewer times within 4 weeks, then you do not need to get fingerprinted. Now, if you're going to be frequently volunteering in the school, you do need to get fingerprinted. And also, if you're going to be indirectly supervised, so there won't be a staff with you when you're with a child, then you need to get background checked, an additional criminal background check. So we want to talk a little bit about some process improvements that we've done in the Partnerships and Volunteers team. So as I've stated before, everyone who volunteers need to get run against the sex offender registry list, but now that is automatically done in PI. Before you had to look into online and on a website to do it, and now as soon as someone registers, they're automatically run. We also did something to increase the efficiency of large events like Kabooms, and with the help of the Chief of Staff's office, we purchased some scanners so that we could scan at large events like this. And the slide actually has an update, but we submitted the slide in May, and last week we did an event with Heart of America and the Ravens. So that number is now, we did 6 on-site sex offender registry screenings and volunteer events with 607 volunteer screens. So you'll see there was like 202 people at that event. I'd like to say the City Schools media team just uploaded a great video from that event. So if you go to the City Schools website on YouTube, you will get to see this great video of the event. We also do on-site screenings for fingerprinting, so that way we bring the fingerprinting process to volunteers to make it a more equitable process and stop barriers to happen. And for that, we've done 6 on-site fingerprinting events and fingerprinted 170 volunteers. We've created the orientation video, like we said, on English and Spanish, but now that's automatically done when someone registers in PI, so no one has to chase them down to make sure they have all the needed information they need to volunteer in our schools. We've also updated the website. It has a new volunteer handbook and FAQs, and then we also have a centralized email for volunteers at bcps.k12.md.us, so it's easy to find us. And we collaborate with other partners and departments to determine volunteering and screening needs. And honestly, that's how we have made a lot of our improvements, based on working with partners and other departments, because we've been able to identify gaps.
So here's an overview of kind of where we are with volunteers currently. So we have over 4,800 volunteers registered in the PI portal. That's about over a 65% increase from the beginning of the school year this year. There are over 480 school staff trained users in Pi, so this allows them to utilize those features that Kim spoke about previously. Most of those staff are community school coordinators, as they're the volunteer leads designated at their school, as well as the principals. And then we provide a lot of support and training. Kim and I will talk or train to anybody who will listen to us, honestly. But we regularly train the community school coordinators as well as the lead agencies that employ community school coordinators in our school. We regularly table at the community school bi-monthly meetings to provide technical support and just answer any questions that folks have. And then we'll attend any SFC council meetings, parent group meetings, or any meetings anybody wants us to come to speak about the volunteer process. And at some of those meetings, we've also provided just on-site orientation for those volunteers. Some ways that we engage our volunteers, as Kim spoke, we send out a monthly newsletter. We've also created a volunteer bingo with various things that people could do at their school to volunteer. And then once they get bingo, they get a special prize. Last year, we implemented a Giving Tuesday campaign where volunteers could give their time as a guest reader at schools. And then we also regularly spotlight our volunteers in newsletters, and then our annual appreciation event. These are just some really cute engagement photos from things that we've done. So we had a Stuff the Bus event last year at Orioles Park where volunteers helped us collect school supplies items that were donated. There's an image from our 2023 volunteer appreciation event. We also partner with the Ravens for Read Across America Week, and that's a photo of the GM of the Ravens reading at Gwynns Falls to the students there. The first photo is the Heart of America Service Day. So Kim and I went to the check-in registration at their conference at a hotel and ran SOR checks, sex offender registry checks, on every volunteer as they checked in, so they were prepared to go out to the schools and be ready to serve our schools. We did another Ravens event last year at Morrell Park. We will scan everybody. We don't care if you're the president of the Ravens, you get your ID scanned too. And then this is a picture from our Giving Tuesday campaign where we had volunteers give their time. This is from our most recent volunteer appreciation event. As you can see, it was in the boardroom this year. So we got to showcase the lovely improvements of the boardroom to our volunteers. We also had performances by Youth Poet from Do More. And it was just an event where we can celebrate all the things that our volunteers pour into our schools. Also, the photo you'll see on the right is one of our volunteer winners, Miss Haiti, as well as Bruno, who is also a volunteer at City Schools. Bruno has brought in over $600 to Mervo. Mervo has a problem keeping volunteers because they all turn into employees, which is a good problem to have. So Miss Haiti is actually an employee here at City Schools. And we had volunteers that say that they were volunteering for over 17 years and had never been to an appreciation event. And I think that really highlights how Pi allows us to connect with folks that maybe on the school level aren't connected with the district. And so we're able to outreach to them and let them know that we at the district do care about the work they're doing and celebrate those accomplishments.
Rebecca, I don't want you to miss the fact that Bruno is the most beloved volunteer at Mervo and spends hours at the school and brings lots of enjoyment to the children and students and staff at the school. So was our first Pi volunteer registered animal in the volunteer process.
We also wanted to highlight a school that really embodies what we want volunteer engagement to look like, and that school is Empowerment Academy. And so that's Principal Ashley Moore with the Community School Site Specialist Rochelle Cole. That school really feels like a family when you step into their volunteers. They have clocked over 2,000 hours volunteered this year, which equates to over $63,000 in donated time. They have 90 registered volunteers in the Pi portal. You see Miss Pittman there as the first volunteer. She's at the school every day. She's a grandmother. She will do any and everything that needs to be done at that school, from lunch duty to fitting uniforms to any events that they have. Miss Stubbs at the bottom supports with food pantries on regular. Miss Evans Gibbs at the top, she supports with student literacy. At the bottom, you'll see Miss Hall, who is actually Miss Cole's mother, who has also supported the school and then has also supported district-wide events like the Get Hype event. And then Mr. Mobley in the corner, he is kind of the fix-it guy for Empowerment Academy. So he makes sure the locks are working on the doors, repairs and paints things that need repair. And so they have really embody what we want all schools to have as far as community engagement. They also state that Pi helps them organize their volunteers as well as keep them informed. Through their use of Pi, they've received several school supplies donations and Thanksgiving baskets from partners. So now to jump into the policy itself. So the purpose of the KCB volunteer policy is really to guide and support the engagement of our volunteers within our school community. And some key features of this policy is it really guides our screening requirements, what our volunteer engagement looks like, and what supports we as a district offer school staff around volunteer engagement. So now we'll get into the updates. So one of the updates proposed is to the purpose of the policy. So as you can see before, it's kind of short and sweet. And we really wanted to make it a more comprehensive overview of the purpose of volunteers, like who we're looking for and how we look for them to engage within our school community. Next is the definitions. Previously, there were only 2 definitions, city, school, and volunteer. We've added chaperone and student chaperone as correlated with the field trip policy, as well as partners in education, as that's the system that we utilize to register our volunteers, screen our volunteers, and then also register sex offender. And then school property is one that we replaced for city schools because we really wanted to encompass beyond the school building to include the school grounds, buses, athletic fields, parking lots. We also look to make a more comprehensive view of our implementation strategies to ensure that there are more supports for volunteer engagement. So really around aligning it with the KCA policy and being specific about what's included as far as orientation for and the training that volunteers get to support our young people. Some proposed regulation updates. So we are making distinguishes between volunteers, interns, work study, and externs, as that seems to be a point of confusion for folks at times. We also updated the language. It's no longer an infrequent volunteer, but occasional. And then we also made a classification for virtual volunteers. As with COVID, that's something that we are now experiencing. And so we want to make sure we have guidance around how those folks engage with our young people. We also updated language throughout to include PI as it pertains to screening, and that's where we kind of house the screening and the clearance of our volunteers. We also added language to reflect that orientation is now a part of PI registration. And then also volunteers are receiving information about child abuse mandatory reporting. We've also added some guidance around minor volunteers that city school students can volunteer with the approval of both their principal and the principal of the school that they're looking to volunteer with. We've also added updated language requiring indirectly supervised volunteers. So again, those are volunteers that would need to receive a criminal background check to self-report certain arrests and charges. And this aligns with our employee and staff requirements. There's also updated language around termination and grievance procedures that encourage volunteers to report misconduct and provides them protection under the whistleblower policy, as well as highlighting the discrimination policies and how volunteers can report if they feel that they've been discriminated against. We've also added guidance around parent volunteers. So parents may not use volunteering as a visitation, and any parents that are court-ordered for visitation, for supervised visitation, cannot volunteer in their school. Liability language is we've added language to release the liability of volunteers unless there's negligence or malice on their part in accordance with the appropriate policy. And this graphic here was a graphic that is in the current regulations as an attachment. We just updated it to reflect the language change, and it also shows like sample activities. It's more a comprehensive view of what's required of a volunteer and what it may look like. This policy does apply to charters or operator-led schools. We do provide the same support and technical assistance as it pertains to PI training and supporting schools. The only difference is our office pays for background checks for volunteers of traditional schools, while as the charter schools, operator-led schools are responsible to pay for the background checks for their volunteers. Some feedback that we've received was to consider offering feedback opportunities for volunteers that is event specific. This is currently in the works with our vendor. It should be coming out in a rollout that they have upcoming, where once a volunteer signs up for an opportunity in the PI portal and that opportunity has expired or passed, they'll get a survey where they can submit specific follow-up about that volunteer activity that they engaged with. How do we know the strategy is working? We can track the number of volunteers. Community school coordinators are tracking volunteer engagement. We can track how many schools are posting opportunities and how many volunteers are matched to those opportunities. We've also created an end-of-year feedback survey for our volunteers and our school staff. And we also collaborate with other offices ongoing to see how volunteers are working in their office, how we can improve the process and mitigate barriers. We also are ensuring everybody knows about this policy. As I said before, Kim and I will literally talk to anybody. So we're doing a lot of outreach with not just district departments and schools, but as I said before, lead agencies as well. So here's some responses that we've gotten from our end of year survey already. So these are results as of May 30th. So 67% of respondents have volunteered over 20 hours this school year. And through that survey, over 5,000 hours were reported by the respondents, which equates to over $161,000. 100% of respondents enjoyed their experience in volunteering in our schools, and 86% of those respondents felt supported by the school they volunteered with. We also plugged in some quotes here, and I think this really highlights that not only do volunteers have such a positive impact on the success of our students, but volunteering in our schools also has a positive impact on the volunteers themselves.
For this policy, we did the following engagement. We requested written feedback, and if anyone wanted a meeting, we would definitely do that, as we've stated before. So BTU commented that they reviewed the proposal and they didn't have any comments or edits, and same with CCAC. And these are the other entities that we requested feedback for. We also did hold some virtual meetings. So we met with the Charter School Advisory Board. We met with a group of parents and volunteers that we contacted through, partners and volunteers that we contacted through PI, and then also school and district staff. And everyone was very favorable of the policy updates. So what's next? So as we said, we work a lot with partners and with different departments, and some of these things we have already actually implemented. So decreased time and clearance results in PI. Previous to working on this update, we updated PI once a month with clearance updates, and now we do it bi-weekly. Badges we talked about in the procedure, and next year, everyone who has received a criminal background check will be required to wear a badge at school, and we will also use that as a way to make sure that that clearances are up to date. So we'll renew the badges every year, and if someone doesn't, and we can send them to the schools, but if you don't have a renewed badge, then you will have to run the background check, the criminal background check again. As I mentioned earlier, the sex offender registry is automatically, it's automatically screened on PI, but now we rescreen it, and that started June 1st. So we made an update with our vendor to screen it on the anniversary date of somebody entering into the system. So it's a rolling basis, and the user will get notifications that, is your information correct? You're about to get rescreened, and then if we don't get an answer, then they get archived, but we can always reactivate them later. Expanded scanner usage, as we said in that event with the Ravens and Heart of America last week, Rebecca and I scanned 200 volunteers, so 202 volunteers. So we are going to order additional scanners so that we can get help from other people who are at the event, and we can give them a log on in PI so they can help us scan volunteers to cut down the time even more and create more efficiencies. And we like I said, we engage other opportunities to engage with schools and other departments just to identify more ways to make things better. We seeking improvements in data collection and reporting. We spoke earlier about the community school coordinators tracking information in spreadsheets. So we're constantly looking at not making duplicate work, and then how do we provide reports to show all the work that everyone is doing. Employee time on is an initiative that we're working with out of the Chief of Staff's office, and it will allow district staff employees to volunteer at schools and to sign up via PI. Their supervisor will get notice and will be able to approve or deny this request based on workload, and then the principals will also know someone's coming, and principals can also post in PI that they would like someone to come help them with specific things. And lastly, volunteer matching. We have people who sign up in PI and they're in our database, but we want to make sure that everyone is getting to volunteer with city schools. So we plan to go through volunteers that have not matched with an opportunity opportunity and see what they really want to do and match them with the school. Our timeline is we did engagement in April and May, and today is the first reader, not yesterday. And then July 23rd, we'll have the second reader. And are there any questions?
Before we get into questions, thank you, Commissioners. Hold your thoughts, and thank you all for this presentation. Very important work. But we have some stakeholders that have been waiting, and I want to shift for just a moment. As an educator, I call this a brain break, so appease me, please. But we have Coach Darnell Dantzler here, who the board actually just voted to rename the gymnasium at Edmondson Westside High School after. And so, Coach, I want to make sure that the camera is also able to pick you up. I'm not sure where the best location for that may be. Probably right over there near that black chair. So if you can just walk on over for a moment, take your walk of fame, because we don't do this often. Absolutely. And so for your commitment, now I apologize that I didn't recognize you earlier because I've seen you, right? But just not in person, maybe watching, but please forgive us for not acknowledging you at the time when we approved. It went by consent. That means the board had no issues with the renaming, but we just want to say thank you for being a living legend. Thank you. Thank you for your commitment to our children and for not throwing any of them away. And so what we pay attention to, is the relationship and the connection, but the accountability that you're able to provide to so many of our young people who many, of the media don't often capture. And you're doing extremely great work. And hopefully we have media partners here in the room. They can actually come to Edmondson Westside while you're in the space, working with our young people to actually see some of the incredible work that you do, because I think that is newsworthy. I think that's the story. Thank you very much. And I did get a photo with the celebrity tonight, so we'll make sure we find some way to share that with more members of the community. And shout out to the Edmondson Westside, the Red Storm team that's here tonight, who's come out in support and in favor of Coach. So thank you all very much. Thank you. So thank you for obliging me, everyone. I saw they did win a championship, yeah. Absolutely, they did. So I was like, I know, I've seen his face, but so absolutely, that's a big deal. So I saw Commissioner Muhammad. I see Commissioner Slater-Harrington. I also need to circle back to another portion of the agenda that we missed. So we'll start with Commissioner Muhammad, Esposito, Slater-Harrington, Brooks. Got it in that order. Commissioner Muhammad.
I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you. The work that you're doing and seeing it firsthand, and sometimes you're aware that I'm there. There are other times that you weren't aware that I was there. And by seeing it firsthand, I'm appreciative to be able to say that the process that we had, it's improving. And we can see it on the ground, and being able to have our volunteers come to you and not get frustrated with the process and the time that it takes, and reducing the time for a person to be available to our young people is really important. So I want to be able to say thank you. I've been watching from afar, quietly. I'll also ask this. With that, how much time does it take from that first touch point to a volunteer being fully approved to be able to work within our schools?
So when a volunteer registers in PI, the sex offender registry check is instantaneous. I mean, it happens in seconds. So then the volunteer, it depends on them. So they can go and contact the school. They can browse offers in Pi and look. And then once they connect with the school will evaluate their level of volunteerism and see if they need to get background checked. And if they don't need to get the additional background check, they can volunteer immediately. So the volunteer really has a lot of control over that.
Now, I appreciate that. I would ask if I can maybe get this at a different time. I would be really interested to see when a volunteer signs up, what's the return on that time spent with the volunteer, those volunteers that are signing up at these community events. Are those volunteers then becoming, or how quickly are they becoming active in a school? And to have some insight into what that looks like, because maybe that's an area where we can celebrate as well.
So the larger events that we have where we do screening, we register them as visitors because they may just be one time. So we don't necessarily need to send Zay Flowers, our monthly newsletter, but I mean, maybe we should think about it. But lots of times people, especially when they do kabooms and it's a corporate kaboom, they may be like, oh, I really like this school and I would like to come back. And then those users can become regular volunteers and sign up and be more active in the school. So, but I mean, that's a good thing to check and see if the time frame between, or even the conversion rate of when people do large events and see if they come back to the school.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to say that it looks amazing. Well, I know I'm not seeing the pie part, but just like the progress that's been made, because I was like a former Future Ready mentor and like volunteer, I think during the stage when things were still on spreadsheets. And I'm super happy to see Bruno, and that Bruno is the MVP of volunteers. And I'm hoping to see, like, as there's like more engagement, that schools will create more volunteer opportunities and continue to grow. And I guess the thing that I'm wondering is, like, if in the future, if there's any way to see if it has an impact on student outcomes. So for the schools that have like these very like robust like volunteer programs, if we see a boost all of a sudden in just like their culture, climate, and in their test scores, yeah, I'd just be curious to see that.
And I appreciate that comment, Commissioner Esposito. We've been working with Baltimore's Promise to try to determine how we measure impact with partners and volunteers, and it's very difficult simply because we can't isolate one causal thing that changes attendance or changes grades. We're looking for correlated things, and that was part of our More Partners update, but I will just share, we're working with the Office of OA, thank you, Chief Jones, and Baltimore's Promise to try to figure that out, right, to understand the impact of what our partners and volunteers bring to the schools. We're not there yet. We've isolated, I think, 13 schools, 13 schools, right? And we're going to try to do a pilot just to see what that looks like and what the data is telling us. But again, it's going to be correlated, not causal, but at least we'll have some data. So working on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would first like to say thank you for all of that you're doing right now. I know it is kind of stressful, but I know you got this because you have more experience. I just wanted to get clarification for volunteers, for background checks. Is that for everyone, or is that just for people who is a regularly returning person?
Yeah, so for anybody who's going to be volunteering with city schools, so even if it's a beautification project on a Saturday where no students are around, or at the district office when no students are present, everybody has to be ran against the sex offender registry. The criminal background check is really for those folks who are looking to engage beyond just that. And so it's anybody who is looking to engage on a frequent basis, so 5 or more times within 4 weeks, or somebody who's going to be alone with our young people. So that's when folks need to get the criminal background check, which is the fingerprinting. Otherwise, it's just the sex offender registry, which is ran when you register in the Pi portal.
Okay. So Rebecca, if we can even give an example of that, right? So if a parent wants to go on a field trip with their child, they don't have to have a background check. It's a field trip, they sign up, staff is supervising, et cetera. if a parent is volunteering in a school and they're pulling children and they're there regularly and that kind of thing, they would absolutely have to have a full background check. So just giving a different example, so for context about why or when someone might need one.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll add that it's like overnight trips, for instance, that you need an additional criminal background check. And then it's also been confusion about background check because the sex offender registry check is a background check. So then look at it as an extended criminal background check is when we run the fingerprints.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bay would like to go next, Chair. All righty. Thank you for addressing your whole process and learning more about the volunteer work. I'm so happy having been on the other side and to see the progression. And so my first thing is, and this is a point of privilege, just acknowledging Chief Highcupboard and her whole team. Who have really, in terms of our external facing and engagement, whether it be from community schools, volunteers, our student association, the expansion, the vast expansion, and the realization we got to recognize our student commissioner and now have another one that's voted in. Those are no small feats. And so I just wanted to recognize you and your whole team for this body of work that you're pushing. You are our best face forward, so thank you. Now, as it comes to volunteering, I appreciate the delineation between the episodic, like, hey, I just want to volunteer and come to my child's field trip. There is a nuance there when sometimes parents are given a group of kids, not everybody. You probably don't want me to be your group of kids. I just need to watch my kid. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But you understand what I'm saying. And so just acknowledging that nuance and that our schools probably need some training as well to address not just that community school coordinator, because that's a lot, but like how we all manage volunteers and what is an appropriate role for volunteers, because not everything is appropriate. So I know I'm telling you things you already know, but I want to raise it for awareness. I'm forgetting. I'm also curious about corporate engagement, and we don't have to do that here, but a separate conversation around how we bring in big bodies. A lot of times we have lots of people who want to get engaged with our schools, and in the past have found it not so easy. You all are paving the way to make it a lot more easier, but then now we have larger bodies of people and corporate bodies that want to come and engage, and I think that's a separate and different nuanced process that I'd love to see. I'd love to hear where the most of your volunteers are coming from. Are they local? Are they from those individual school communities? And this is for future, but also how many volunteers are we getting from just around the city who say, hey, I want to help kids? And then what is your process for assigning them as well? So lots of questions. Some of them can be answered offline. Lastly, I want to say that we have a new volunteer amongst us. It's our student leader. And I want to just recognize that I appreciate your timeline and you going through that. I would appreciate what happens just a little bit, and Chief Highcupboard may be able to do this so that we all have a collective understanding what's going to happen between first reader and second reader when you come back. I think that might be helpful as we're the public and our commissioners are learning the process.
I'll do the last question first, and then if you guys want to add to it. We don't have much more to do on this. We've done a ton of work on this policy. We've done a lot of engagement and outreach on the policy. What we will do, though, is I've been writing the questions down from the commissioners, is look into the answers to those questions and make sure they're incorporated into the policy and the feedback, so you actually hear I was like, yeah, that's a great question. How are volunteers assigned and where are they coming from? And a corporate strategy might be something we need to look into to bring in a larger group of volunteers at one time. So there are things that we need to talk about based on this conversation. But we actually have completed our engagement phase of the process. Normally, engagement might go on past first reader because we've, but we didn't have a lot of feedback to get from folks. So people like what we're doing. So they're going to keep plugging away. They've got activities they're putting with people over through the summertime, but really it's about responding to the board's questions and making sure we're adding the feedback into the policy document. Do you want to add anything?
Can I ask for additional outreach, just one more outreach to the Student Congress, just to make sure?
To ASCBC?
Yeah, because it said no feedback, so.
They reviewed it at their meeting.
Rebecca, microphone. They reviewed it.
They reviewed it at their meeting and didn't have any feedback.
Yeah, and to answer your earlier questions, we, to your first point, as far as how are we making sure that volunteers or parent volunteers or should be volunteers in our school. And that is something that we've identified because schools have expressed that to us. Like, we would like to have family members in, but sometimes they're kind of wild. But conversely, sometimes family members work with schools and they're not getting what they need. So what we're looking at is we're working with, and it's great because it's in our office, but family engagement and community engagement office. And we just started this work actually to look and see how that we can set expectations, proper expectations for everyone involved in the volunteer process, because everyone has a part to play. So it's easy for somebody to say, well, this parent did this or this school did this, or even community members are actually, we want to involve them in that because everybody wants to use the gym and doesn't understand why they can't use the gym at 10 o'clock at night. But just to make sure that all the expectations are set and that that we can utilize those resources and set up a true community with schools being the hub of it. So that's one of your questions. As far as corporate volunteers, that is something that's on that we have our eye on. We definitely wanted to make sure that the process is as smooth as it can be with our existing volunteers before we do a huge super push for either corporate volunteers or even, to Rebecca's point where we did a Giving Tuesday where people were giving their time as opposed to money. That was an outreach. So we look forward to doing more outreaches to people so they can volunteer with the system more. And we do currently work with corporate partners. We work with business volunteers who've gotten corporate partners with us, but we do look forward to expanding that. And did you have, I think that.
Also, as far as the outreach beyond community school coordinators, we have gone to a BTU conference and presented. We've also partnered with the BTU to do a presentation, give out school supplies and stuff to teachers coming from out of the country. And then we also look to continue to engage with the BTU because PI does have a staff account feature, which doesn't mean you have to be the administrator managing all the volunteers, but you're still able to see and recruit. So if teachers themselves needed to recruit for things or wanted to put in requests for things from partners, there's availability for that. So that's kind of our next phase of expanding out the rollout of like an awareness of PI. And then I had something else, but now it's left my mind.
Also, if you would like us to present to you all, as we said, we will go attend any meeting. So just let us know. We'll be there.
I remember my thing. So the majority of the volunteers, according to the PI Portal, are parents and family members. And then the next largest group we have are college folks. We don't have their like physical locations, but that's their demographic they identify as.
Thank you. Real quick, and it's a real quick question. I really do want to know, as you're looking at the matrix of your volunteer longevity, because if we look at how long we hold on to volunteers, are the direct representative of the village. That's what it is. And so therefore, that's the direct feedback that we often need, that we often overlook. And so therefore, I'm just kind of wondering how the longevity of your volunteers, that have you been looking at it? Have you looked at, okay, this group has volunteered for 5 years, 4 years, 2 years, and as you look at that, they're gaining information and they're giving you information. So have we looked at the reciprocity of thought, maybe using volunteers as a
So with Pi being fairly new, we don't have all that information centralized, but we're hoping with Pi, we're able to track those engagements. And then so we're able to see who's engaging with us and for how long and in what capacity. But right now we just don't have the data because Pi is so new. And as Kim stated, when it was rolled out, folks weren't really focused on it and using it. So a lot of our work has really been like an awareness campaign and getting people involved in it. And then our next phase is to really use it as a data tool.
But I would say volunteers are getting through PI an end of the year survey, and we're actually collecting the feedback about their experience. So that's at least our first attempt to collect data to understand the volunteer experience. And I think they mentioned also, it was in the presentation, that we're also serving schools to understand their experience with the volunteers. We make sure we're doing nice matches. And then over time, as Rebecca said, we can certainly look at the longevity of committed volunteers. And we know we've had some, reading partners, for example, for years has been volunteering. But in terms of using Pi to track the data, it's just a fairly new tool that we're able to use. So we'll be able to come back and share a bit of that, more of that when we come back for our annual report on the volunteer policy.
Thank you.
Commissioner Basin, thank you 3 times.
Yes,
thank you all for your work. I was chatting just briefly, Sally. We've had, I don't believe it's appropriate for this, but it will certainly be work, Commissioner Esposito, for the policy committee to think through with staff. School leaders have brought up on multiple occasions in a diverse conglomerate of school leaders, not necessarily volunteers, but folks who, how folks engage once they come into particularly our school buildings, not their volunteer work, but almost in some cases conduct. And so out of the protection of our students, our young people, our staff members, and the integrity of our institutions, I think it's important that we begin thinking through what that may look like, what guidance may appear perhaps in policy, some other way, shape, or form, whatever's appropriate. But I do want to task the policy committee to just think through that along with staff, because we've heard it numerous times, and not just from school leaders, but also from parents, just on, what are terms of engagement, what is appropriate, because we do know that most people want the best for our students. In some cases, people don't know always how to articulate, that, but I think it is important that that lives somewhere. Commissioner Esposito she's been very good at raising to make sure that we put things in places that live and breathe, not just for us, but for future iterations of our system. So I'm tasking you all with that, but also to work with staff, and I see that you're eager to respond.
I am so eager to respond, Chair McFadden, because my team has been working on a brand new visitor code of conduct that is for families and for any other visitors coming into our buildings. It will be hopefully incorporated into the family guide for the 2024-2025 school year. We hope to share it with you next Monday and the leadership team, and then socialize it with the rest of the board to review. And then we're going to, Chris Battaglia, accompany that. He's smiling because I've given him a task he's not super excited about for the first time ever. I've asked Chris and my CEO ombudsman and my family engagement specialist, Vanessa Stone, Karen Lawrence is the CEO ombudsman, to pull together a training outline for principals and school-based staff on how to deal with challenging situations when they occur at schools and how we can best support them. In that principals have asked for it, so we are going to try to deliver. So the code of conduct, though, will be first. That's the first phase of getting folks to sort of agree to that. And the CEO had read it in my last check-in with her just recently this week. So we'll be sharing that with folks and then socializing with folks like PCAB, and if BTU wants to review it, and others, to make sure everybody's okay with it. We looked at counties across the state, looking at what their policies look like and how they sort of said things. And we were very open and welcoming, but also firm about what would happen if there were some things that were not above board when you come into our school buildings, to look out for our students, staff, and school communities in general. So more to come on that very soon, and I'd be happy to share with policy committee as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any additional thoughts or questions from the board? Thank you all so much. Thank you for your work. We look forward to second reader.
Thank you very much.
Colleagues, I omitted a whole section of our agenda tonight. It was section 8. So Commissioner Bay, do you have a report from the Teaching and Learning Committee? I just want to make sure we have it. And then I also want to make sure that we give space to our student commissioner tonight. So generally, Commissioner Rooks, it comes earlier in our agenda. But, you know, blame me tonight. It's all good. All right. So we will come back to that. I do want to make sure that we bring up our next presentation, though, and that is both item 10.02 and 10.03. It's policy FFA. So hopefully we can speak to both of them at the same time. And that is naming of the VLP school and then naming of Hampstead Hill Gymnasium. Good evening, Principal Honda.
Board of Commissioners. My name is Holly Bedwell. I'm from the Office of Achievement and Accountability.
Good evening. I'm Dawn Shirey. I'm the Director of Virtual Learning and Instructional Technology from Academics.
In January of this year, the Board of School Commissioners voted to approve the conversion of the 2 virtual learning programs into one virtual learning school that will serve grades 5 to 12 next school year and grades 6 to 12 thereafter. This evening, we're sharing a proposal to name that virtual learning school. This proposal aligns with strategic priority number 5, in which city schools will provide equal access to district services, resources, and facilities to ensure the success of students, staff, and the surrounding community. Just a little context before we dive into the proposal. In March of 2022, the Board of School Commissioners approved revisions to FFA, naming, renaming of school facility to align with our equity policy, ADA. With these revisions are the expectation that names of schools and facilities should honor the communities that they serve by creating a shared identity for all stakeholders and ensuring that students and community members have a voice in the process. Oh, sure. Okay. So as part of those revisions and as part of board policy FFA, there are defined steps in what needs to happen when a naming is pursued. So step 1 is that the school stakeholders will submit FFA Form 1 to the Office of Achievement and Accountability. And that was on April 26th by Principal Wilby. Step 2 is that the stakeholders will convene a naming committee with various stakeholders from the school. Next, they will research and collect names, including considering names that have been used previously for school buildings closed. Next, we'll bring the proposal to a public board meeting, and that's what brings us here this evening. The community engagement will continue, ultimately culminating in a vote between the school community. And then finally, we'll bring the results of that vote back to the board so they can reject or approve the new name of the school.
So our overarching goal is to really identify an appropriate name for the merging of the 2 programs, Charm City and Port, into one virtual learning school. And we're really looking at doing that through fully engaging the community, and we have begun that engagement. That includes town halls, meetings, advisory. It will include summer activities, and I'll talk a little more about what has already been done and the plans for what is being done on the coming slides. I want to make sure as we do that naming process that we're really able to have a name that reflects the core values of the virtual learning school, and that name also brings with it just the robust and unique opportunity to do this in Baltimore City. So really looking at the potential and promise of our young people and what is happening in that school and how that can be embodied in a name. When we're looking at naming, we do have core questions per the naming policy that we will consider, and we have already begun to consider, and these have been shared with the broader school community. Those core questions are around making sure that we're honoring the experience and culture of the students and the students within that school, and that name represents the community and the activities and the history of that community. And lastly, within the core questions, that we are considering names of previously closed schools or schools that have changed their name. And so there's a list of names that the school community considers, and they can bring forth any of those names as a proposed new name as well. And so that has already been done, and I'll talk about that in the next slide, that they received the list of larger names, and those names, students and staff and families were able to research those names and put forth those names if they felt that they aligned to the core values and the overall purpose of the school. If a name is put forth, there is a legacy test that needs to be met. Does that individual have a recorded, established record of service over time that is still pertinent and is positive and is relevant after their death? And does it really speak to both Baltimore and or the world? And is it lasting and positive? And so those pieces have been put forward and will continue to be part of the test for the name. The process in the next slide, we have already begun. In this May, we started the transition committee that started meeting in March consisted of, and consists because it's continuing onward, 2 parents, 2 staff members, 2 students, and 1 community member from each of the programs. So that constituency from Port and the same from the current CHARM program come together. I lead that group currently, and we started with looking at mission and vision across the 2 schools, what is important to them as stakeholder groups, and then they take the information back to their stakeholder groups and bring forth information back to the group. And so really looking at what's important to continue as a team, what are the traditions of the school, all those types of things, and that led really nicely into the naming process. And so that group in May, actually in April, we looked at the naming policy together in late April, and then they developed a presentation that they took forth to staff. They had staff meetings the week of May 13th. They then had student government meetings the week of May 20th, and student advisory meetings the week of May 20th. And then community meetings happened on May 29th, joint community meetings with stakeholders from both communities, 2 different times on that date. In those meetings, both the process was shared as well as the names that were up for consideration from previously closed schools or schools that were renamed, so that that list was also shared. And they were given an opportunity to put forth and continue to be given an opportunity to put forth on a form, a Google form, name submissions. We have received over 100 name submissions to date. So it's quite a few names to then begin to come together as a group and get additional feedback on those names, to pare those names down, to have voting, and then in the fall, that will continue throughout the summer. And then in the fall, there will be final voting, and we will bring forth most likely the end of October. That process, that date may change depending on the type of community feedback. We want to make sure we have lots of community voice. And so if voice is adequate by that time, and we are able to come up with a name that everyone feels really represents the school, we'll bring it back to you in October. And this is for the board, but also for the public. If anyone has questions around that process, you can reach out to myself, Dawn Shirey, directly, or to Holly.
Thank you very much, Dawn and Holly, correct? So until that process happens, it will be virtual learning school.
Secondary virtual learning
Secondary
school.
learning.
Be
Secondary-
agnostic
yes,
in name
got
to,
you.
to value both current communities and future,
Absolutely.
to not influence.
And have we, I know that there previously has been talk, I don't know where it exists, but just about some of our previous schools that are no longer within our portfolio and those names that matter to communities. How do we consider that in this process as well?
So those names have already been put forth
Got it.
to both the naming committee, who then put forth names to in those presentations
Got it.
to SGA, advisory, staff, the community meeting. We actually put forth names. We put forth identified names and then the full list.
You can come up,
So-
Angela, because we're going to move right into your section.
So those names were able to be options, and some of those names have already been put forth as in that naming form as submissions.
Great.
Yep.
Any additional questions, thoughts from commissioners? Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yeah, I just want to thank you because they often say, I mean, it's an old thing, that, a rose by any other name, but I don't think anybody runs to sniff a hippopotamus, okay? So the thing is it matters. Names matter in a community. They matter from the historic point of view and from the hopeful point of view. So I want to thank you for taking the time, the effort, and the intentionality of your purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're ready for the next presentation around FFA.
Okay, good evening. I'm Angela Alvarez, Senior Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives. And I'm joined remotely by Trevor Roberts, who is
Good evening. My name is Trevor Roberts. I'm a specialist in the Office of New Initiatives.
and we're here also presenting a naming request. This is for a gymnasium.
Yep, and this request is for the naming of the Hampstead Hill Gymnasium. Hampstead Hill is a conversion charter school run by the Baltimore Curriculum Project. It is in a highly utilized facility in the southeast corner of the city. And this is connected to Baltimore Curriculum Project's project to renovate the gym, for which they have raised a significant amount of money personally and have earlier this year requested a loan from the district. So this is connected to that earlier loan request. They're now seeking permission to name the new gym, which we'll look at in a moment. Just looking at the timeline, much like the virtual learning program, we are bringing this to the board tonight, and there will be a community engagement process, which we're going to look at in just a minute. And following the community engagement and vote, we will be bringing this back to the board in September for a final vote on the naming of the gym. So Holly and Don went through the requirements for FFA. Well, one thing I do want to point out is that for renamings of individual parts of buildings, policy FFA does allow for naming after a living person, which is what we're going to be looking at tonight. But given the setup by Don and Holly, I will just move on to the request. So the request is to name the newly renovated gym at Hampstead Hill Academy the Newstead Gym. This is connected to Hampstead Hill's Leaders Go Places program, which is one of the ways that Hampstead Hill establishes a strong community at their school. The Leaders Go Places program is based on 5 promises that students make to each other and to the school community. I will contribute to the common good. I will persevere. I will produce quality work. I will conduct myself with honor and integrity, and I will advocate for myself and others. The school community believes that these qualities are all embodied in Carol Newstead, for whom the gym is being named, and that she embodies the qualities of the Leaders Go Places programs. So Carol Newstead was a public school educator and volunteer for 2 decades in Baltimore County. She has a lifetime of persevering after being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as a young adult. And despite that, continues to be a role model, playing tennis and being active and exercising at 80 years old, and is also a advocate for other seniors in Catonsville, where she teaches senior citizens to use new technologies. In addition to that, the Newstead family was a major contributor to the gym renovation project, and are asking that the gym be named in her honor. Ms. Newstead has deep connections to the Hampstead Hill community, with 3 grandchildren who attended the school, and several family members who still live in the school community. And Baltimore Curriculum Project and Hampstead Hill Academy believe that the naming the gym would honor her by showing her her embodiment of the qualities that they try to teach to the students at the school. In terms of community engagement, the community engagement has already begun and will continue over the summer. Parents and families have been engaged and will continue to be engaged during PTO meetings and student assemblies. Staff are engaged during staff meetings. And there's also a broader engagement with the neighborhood surrounding the school that is being done through social media, flyers, and the School Family Council, which has a outreach program to the local community. And following this engagement, the school will be holding a vote, which will be part of the information we present to the board when we bring this back in September. So looking at new steps, starting in May and going through September, there will be those community engagement efforts. And we will be bringing this back in September for a vote by the board.
There Commissioner questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Alvarez and your team, for all the good work. Thank you, Principal Hornbeck, for being with us this evening, and your team. Absolutely. Thank you. I want to shift to our Teaching and Learning Committee, who met for a brief update. Several of the items that were on the procurement agenda went by consent tonight, but Commissioner Slater-Harrington, who is the chair of that committee, but I also want to acknowledge Commissioner Bay, who stepped up in the committee last week as well.
Thank you, Chair. I will keep this brief, and I want to publicly acknowledge Commissioner Bay and appreciate him for facilitating in my absence. I'll just go over, due to time, some of the key highlights from the committee meeting. We had a presentation on from the multilingual department, who acknowledge that enrollment of multilingual students has tripled over the last 10 years, and noted some of the great things that are happening within this body of work, but also some of the challenges when we address attendance for middle and high schools. We also had a presentation on summer and professional development, credit recovery, and extended school year. This summer, 16,000 seats will be available across all programs. 60 schools are hosting their own programs, and just a multitude and variety of options to include credit recovery sites, which we really look forward to contributing to increased graduation rates and all of those things, additional options for our high schoolers. But also, as a personal beneficiary, my son will be participating in ESY programming. So those are the notes from the meeting, key highlights, as well as the procurement items, which we've already voted on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Slater-Harrington. And we also want to hear tonight from our student commissioner again. Forgive me for delaying it, but Commissioner Rooks, the time is now yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. I want to first say thank you all for staying here as long as you can. I know it is late and most of you are tired. But as many of you may know, my name is Dylan Rooks. I do attend the Baltimore City College High School. I am a rising junior. I would like to provide you the plans as my first term for student commissioner. My plan as student commissioner is to continue to lead the city schools in the right direction. I plan to improve policies that raise the level of academic achievements for not only city schools, but make a positive impact on the student community. I have also shared with the board recently my goal as student commissioner, and I will share it with you all also. My goal as student commissioner is to voice the opinion of the student body and work alongside my colleagues to make an upcoming school year run smoothly and safely. But lastly, I want to learn from others and gain more experience representing the student body. Thank you.
Awesome, very, very nicely done. Notice of upcoming meetings. I want to just, before I do that, thank all of board colleagues for just being committed to this work each and every day. I just want to say that to you all. Thank you all for your commitment. Thank you all for your diligence and for your service. Our upcoming meetings, the Teaching and Learning Committee. I'm looking at old dates. Is policy meeting on Tuesday? The policy committee will be meeting on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Is operations meeting on Tuesday? Operations is meeting on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Say it again. Safety and Wholeness is meeting when? This Thursday? The 20th, Thursday the 20th at 4:00 p.m. Any additional meetings? There's a special board meeting on June 25th at 9 a.m. because we are moving into a summer schedule where we are adjusting some of our meetings. And we also will not have multiple meetings during the summer to certainly give our staff some time to balance themselves, but also it is the summertime and our students are out, our children are out. So we want to make sure that we honor that time as well. And all of our committee meetings are public meetings for the sake of the public, and folks can engage virtually because those meetings are virtual meetings. Anything else for the good of, do I have a quorum to adjourn? I do. Anything else for the good of the group? We have one. We've got one. All in favor of adjourning our meeting, please answer by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:37 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful evening. And it is Black Music Month, everyone. It is Black Music Month. So happy Black Music Month. Happy Pride. This is Pride Month. Juneteenth is next week. And happy Father's Day to all of our fathers on this Sunday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
You good? All right.